So I've got this old log here that I pulled out of the woods from over there, and you can see it's pretty rotten, pretty decayed. And I was going to cut it up with a chainsaw. I thought it would cut up pretty easy, and lo and behold, it was harder than heck to cut through. And that's because it's only the outside that's rotted. And so I took one of these pieces here and I turned it, and it's a nice wood. Looks like it's walnut. I can't tell by the bark there if that's walnut bark, because that's a walnut tree there, and bark didn't look exactly like this, so I'm not sure what's going on. At any rate, this wood here I turned day before yesterday, and it is starting to split. Trying to see if I can get a good shot of the split that's going on here. There's a split right there, and then the end here, it's raining, so I got some spots on here, but you can also see there's some little cracks coming from the inside radiating out. So I'm going to have Lori try to put this in the microwave and see if we can get this to dry without splitting the rest of the way, and we'll let you know how it all turns out. But if that is walnut, we got a pretty good sizable chunk of rotted wood there, and hopefully there's lots of good wood on the inside of it. Alright, as I just mentioned, I turned some of this wood and needed to give it to Lori to keep it from splitting. I do want to point out that this is some spalted maple that I kind of did a rough turning on a while back, and I was afraid it was going to split because it was pretty wet, and gave it to Lori, and she did this microwave process on this, and it's been split free, has not split or cracked or done anything for the last month or so. It's been at least 3 or 4 weeks. I will note that it did warp it just a little bit. It's got a little bit of a bow to it, so it wants to roll one way or the other, but that's okay. It was a rough turning, and I've heard lots of times you have to turn this stuff. If you want it to be perfectly straight, you turn it, you let it warp and dry and do things, and then you turn it again. So that's what we're going to do on that. So as we just mentioned, this is our piece of hickory. I think we thought originally it was walnut, and then looking at the bark that was left on part of the tree, we determined it was hickory. And as you can see here, there were some cracks that were developing 24 hours after I turned this. And Lori actually put some marks on the cracks there so that we can kind of see where they were at the time that they were developing 24 hours after we turned it. And there's a crack, a split right there that was happening. And so she started microwaving it, and sure enough the split stopped. So we're going to have Lori explain to you what she was doing here when we say she was microwaving these.
Alright. What I did at first when he gave them to me is I weighed them. I wrote the weight down on my piece of paper over here, and then I kept track of every time that I microwaved, and I'd put it outside. You have to put it out wherever it's cool. The colder the better to get the piece of wood to cool off before you put it in the microwave again for another 2 minutes. So every time I'd bring it in after it cooled off, I would weigh it. And then after I weighed it, I put it in the microwave, 50% power for 2 minutes. And then when that was done, I took it back out and put it out into the cold to let it cool off for a couple hours. So, as you mentioned, it haven't developed any more cracks. The ones that were there had stopped. So, looks pretty good.
Alright, and we've got this little scale here. This is from Ascali. It's probably got some glare on it, but you can get these, you can buy them online from Homebrew Party, and it goes to a point to a 1/10 of an ounce, and it'll even do, whoops, it'll do a bunch of different ways. You can even measure in grams if you want to. So you can measure that pin there. That pin weighs 11 grams, so it gets pretty specific. So so Lori's been writing down our weights on this thing, and so one of the things that I did was I went ahead and I graphed that out, And this is the spalted maple, 50% for 2 minutes. And you can see dropped off pretty quickly here, and then kind of leveled out. And at some point, you just got to say it's just not losing much. We were losing, you know, a tenth of an ounce in between dryings, and so we kind of decided it was done. And sure enough, it's been sitting here for 3 or 4 weeks and hasn't gotten any more cracks. The hickory here, you can see it's still going down quite a bit, and Lori is indeed still microwaving it. I put on here 3 minutes because that's what she started off doing it as, but she went back to 2 minutes actually, because the hickory was just getting too hot. So she's back to 50% microwave power for 2 minutes, and you can see again it's still dropping. So once this chart here starts leveling out like this chart here did, and the decline's not so fast, we'll call that wood dry, and call it done. So that's how you keep your green wood from splitting. Even after it starts splitting, you can halt it.